Welcome to ASTG classes, and in today's class we will start with the topic of while loop. Now, in our previous video we have understood for loop. Now it's time to complete with the while loop. So if you haven't watched that video, it's my request to watch that video too, because all these videos are interlinked. Okay, so let's start. So we know that while loop is a conditional based loop. It's a conditional based loop. Okay, it's a conditional based loop. Fine. And we have understood that for loop is a counting based loop. So here a condition would be involved in order to write the while loop. Okay, so let me first show you how to write a while loop. Okay, so its structure, you can say its structure. So first there is an initialization. Okay, initialization. After that we have the while keyword. Then here comes the condition, colon. Here is the body of the loop. And we have the updation part also. And done. So this one is the structure of the while loop. Okay, this one is the structure of the while loop. Now I want to add one point with it. Why? Because one of my student was telling me that, sir, we have else part associated with the loop. So why I haven't discussed that part in my previous video? The reason behind it is that in order to understand that else part, okay, that else part, we also have a else part. We also have a else part associated with the loop. Same for the for loop also, but I haven't discussed this one. Why? The reason behind it is that in order to understand else part of a particular loop, you need to understand one thing, that is the jump statement. We have two types of jump statement. Okay, break and continue. So if you get an idea of those things, then it would be very easy for you to understand the else part. And this else part is totally an optional one. So this particular is an optional one. Fine. And that's the reason I haven't discussed this thing. But yes, since you are my students and you have the query, so it's my duty to solve all your queries, to clear all your queries. And that's the reason. So I will definitely discuss the sales part also. But when we will start our topic with the jump statement, continue and break. Why? Because the loop gets terminated in two ways. It can either terminate in an abnormally fashion, or it can be terminated in a normal fashion. So it depends. So that termination of the loop, it's totally depend with this else part. Okay, it's just you can say a trailer of what you can else part. Okay, fine. So again in this video also I won't be discussing this particular else part too. In upcoming videos we will definitely discuss this else part. So as of now we will try to keep the things as simple as we can. Fine. Now let's rub it. Clear? Now see, this one is the structure of the you can say while loop. Now let's understand each and everything. What is this initialization part? What is this initialization part? What is the importance or the significance of this initialization part? Suppose in a condition, suppose in this particular condition, I am using a variable. So that particular variable need to be initialized first before using it in the condition. And that's what the initialization. So after that we have the condition and we need to write the body of the loop. Fine. This updation parts also plays a very vital role. Why? Because if we don't have the updation part, then it may be possible that the loop get converted to an infinite loop. Okay, guys, to an infinite loop. It's also possible that a loop may convert to an infinite loop. What is an infinite loop? Infinite loop is a loop in which the condition never gets false. Clear? It's a loop in which the condition never gets false. So that's why this updation plays a very vital role in case of while loop. So let me write a very simple while loop. That particular while loop would be printing numbers from 1 to 10. And we have run this particular code using for loop 2. But now it's time to write the same code using while loop. Okay, let's see. how we can do that one. So for that, so since what I would be going to do, I would be printing numbers from 1 to 10. So from 1, so let me use a variable num and let me initialize it with 1. Fine. Then after that, this particular will run up to 10. So let me write the condition while num less than equals to 10. Okay, then let's print the value of the num. Fine, and let me increase the value of num by 1. Now let's understand each and everything of this loop. Okay, see, this particular part, this particular statement is the initialization one. Okay, this one is the initialization portion. Why? Because this particular variable num has been used in this condition. So this one is the condition. Clear? This one is the condition part. And within that condition, we have a variable num. So this particular variable need to be initialized first before using it within the condition. And that's what I have done here. Clear? Now within the body, what I have did, I have simply print the value of the num. Clear? And what this particular statement signifies us, this one is the updation part. This one is the updation part. Now what is the significance of this updation part? If we don't increase the value of this num by 1, then it will always remain as 1 and the condition will always evaluate to true, and this particular loop will get converted to an infinite loop. And that's the reason we should always have an updation part. So here I am incrementing the value of the num. We can also decrement the value of the num depending upon the question or the situation. So in this particular question, what I need to do is to print the value from 1 to 10, and that's why from 1 I need to increase my value. So that's why I'm incrementing it by 1. Clear? So if what happened if I remove this particular portion, then in that case the value of the num will always remain as 1 and the condition will always evaluate to true. Why? Because 1 is always less than 10 and this particular loop will become an infinite loop. Now again another important point where we need to keep this statement, updation part statement, always at the bottom of the body, or we can place it anywhere. Again, it totally depends upon the programming or the logic which you have created. If I update, suppose, try to understand, this is a very important portion. You need to understand each and everything. What happen if I place a statement before the print statement, or what would happen if I place that updation part after the print statement? You need to understand this. And if you are able to understand these things, then definitely you can do whatever you want. Okay, that's the thing. Most of the students are not able to visualize the code. Okay, visualize the code in the sense a code is being given to you and you need to see the output of that particular code within your brain. You need to run that code within your brain, and if you are able to do it, then you can do whatever you want. And definitely that's the important step for a computer science student. This is the important step. You need to visualize the codes. Okay, you need to understand the code, then only you would be able to solve the output type of questions. And most of the output type of questions used to come from loops only. So this is a very vital portion, guys. So you need to understand each and everything. Okay, now suppose if I increment the value by 1 before printing it, what would happen? Let's see. So here try to understand. Now let me execute it, each and every step. Let me execute it. Okay, suppose let me print the value from 1 to 3. Why? Because in order to keep the execution step in a lower number. That's the thing. Okay, now what would happen in step 1? the value of num is what? 1. Fine. It will move to the condition part. Is num less than equals to 3? 1 is less than equals to 3 and it is evaluating to true. Obviously it's less than 3. So since the condition is true, it will move into the body. So it is moving into the body, and what is the first statement? What it's doing, it is incrementing the value. So num is getting incremented by 1. So here in this case 1 plus 1 becomes 2, and after that we have a print statement. So it is printing the value of the num, and so first value which will get printed is 2. See, 1 is not getting printed. And why this is happening? It's just happening just because we have placed the updation statement before the print statement. Now what if we just swipe it? Swipe it means if we place the print statement before the updation statement, then definitely it will print the number, the value of the num first as 1, then it will get incremented, and that incremented value will get checked. Okay, let me show you. This is a very important part. Okay, so what I am doing, I am first printing the value, and after that I am incrementing it. Okay, now in this case what would happen? Again, step 1, num value is what? 1. Condition checking. So num less than equals to 3. Let's see, is 1 less than equals to 3? Yes, it's true. Since it is true, it will move into the body of the while loop. Clear? So the first statement within the body of the while loop is a print statement. So what it's doing, it's simply printing the value of the num. So here it's what? It's num, print num. So the value of the num will get printed. So print num, and the value of the num will get printed, and it's here in this case it's 1. So see, 1 gets printed before updation. And what was happening in the previous code? It first get incremented, and then the incremented value gets printed, and that was 2 in that case. I hope you understand the importance of the updation statement first, and the placement of the updation statement too. The placement of the updation statement totally depends upon your logic. You need to understand this particular thing. Now, again, try to understand. If I initialize my value with 0, then in that case, updation statement, this particular statement need to be before the print statement. Why? Because 0 plus 1 will give me 1, and I am after that printing the value. Then in that case, the condition or the requirement what I want is will get fulfilled. Okay, I hope you didn't understood. You didn't got my point. Let me clear it. So if my value of num gets initialized by 0, then in that case, what should I do? I should first update the value with num with 1. So let me increment the value of num by 1, and after that print it. So here in this case, this particular placement of the updation statement is correct. Okay, let's see the execution. The num is 0, 0 is less than, so then after that it will move to the condition part. 0 is less than 3, it's true, that's why it is moving into the body, and after that what we are doing, we are incrementing the value of num by 1. So the value of num is 0 plus 1, it's 1. Now after that I am printing its value, and see, it's 1, and the requirement is fulfilled. So after that it will be 2, and after that 3, and after that it will get increment to 4, but 4 is not less than 3, that's why the loop will get terminated. Now again, what is my main point? What I am discussing, or what I want to discussing, is that the placement of the updation statement. It's very important to know where you need to place the updation, this particular statement, updation statement. Here I am incrementing the value. You can decrement it depending upon your logic. But see, when I initialize my value with 0, then in that case the updation statement need to be before the print statement in order to fulfill my condition. But when I am incrementing my value with 1, then in that case num is equals to num plus 1 statement should be after the print statement. So the whole discussion depends on what I have discussed is based on the updation part. Now let me show you the execution of it with this particular code only. So let me initialize it with 0. So after that 1 gets printed. Okay, fine. 1 gets printed. Okay, so let's execute the step 2. So now the current value of num is what? It's 1. Okay, it's 1. Step 2, the value of num is what? It's 2. So sorry, it's 1. So is 1 less than equals to 3? It's yes. Since it is true, it will move into the body of the loop. And what we are doing, we are first incrementing the value of num by 1. So num is equals to num plus 1. So 1 plus 1 equals to 2, and I am after that printing the value. So 2. So 2 gets printed. Now see, what is the current value of num? The current value of num is 2. Okay, fine. So let's execute the step 3. So the current value of num is 2. Is 2 less than 3? Yes, it's less than 3. So that's why, so what will happen after the completion of the whole body? It will again move to the condition part with the current value of num. Okay, so 2 is less than equals to 3. Yes, it's true. That's why it will move into the body. And after that, I will increment the value of num by 1. So it will get 3. And after that, 3 will get printed. Sorry, num. And 3 will get printed. So 3. Clear? I hope you are understanding it. It's very important to understand each and every step of a loop. If you are able to do it, then you can do whatever you want. You would be able to solve loop type of questions, output type of question. You will be able to write your own logic using loop. So the first and the foremost step is to understand its flow of execution. And that's what I'm doing here. I hope you are understanding it. Okay. Now, so the current value of num is what? It's 3. Okay. Now, after that, step 4 will get executed. Okay, let me write it with red pen only. Okay, so the current value of num is what? It's 3. Is 3 less than equals to 3? Yes, it's true. So, since it is, okay, fine. Since it is equals to 3, that's why this condition gets true. So again, it will move into the body. And the value of num will get incremented by 1. So 3 plus 1 barabar 4. And the value of num will get printed. So 4 will also get printed. But try to understand one point. What was my requirement? I want to print numbers from 1 to 3. But here see, 4 is also getting printed. Why? Just because of this particular equals to sign. Just because of this particular equals to sign. And why I have given this particular equals to sign? Just because I initialized that particular value with this variable num with 1, and that was the reason I have given that equals to sign. But since I have changed my code and I have initialized the value of num with 0, then in that case I should remove this particular equals to sign. So if I remove this particular equals to sign, then 3 won't be equals to 3. So this particular statement will not run. So this particular 4 will not be printed. Simple. I hope. See, with execution only, I got to know that I have committed a mistake. And what was that mistake? That mistake was this equals to sign. Okay. Since I have initialized my value of variable num with 0, then in that case that equals to sign should not be there. See what lots and lots of cases has been discussed while discussing this particular thing. This is what the essence of, you can say, computer science. Each and everything is interlaid. So you need to understand each and everything. Okay, you need to understand each and everything. Each and everything is connected with one another. So you cannot skip one part in order to understand the other. So you need to understand the first part, then only you would be able to understand the second part. And that's what I always used to say my student too. That if your 11 is weak, then it will be a quite challenging part or portion for you to understand the 12 one. Why? Because lots and lots of programming are being involved in class 12. File handling, stack, then functions. and you need to write programs, and for that logic plays a very vital role. And that logic creation is being means that foundation is being done in class 11 only. So that's why I always used to say that if you're watching video, if you're watching my video or any other one's video, please try to understand their concepts, their way of uh, trick techniques. Why? Because these are the only things which will be which will be help you to understand the concepts. Okay, so core concepts is quite important, and these are the concepts only. And if your concepts are clear, then what you need to do is to practice lots and lots of questions. And I am also planning to practice 2 or 3 questions, or not 2 or 3, let it be 10, up to 10 questions. Let's practice on for and why, means loop type of questions, just in order to build your foundation stronger. Okay, so that's all for today. That's discussion, theory part discussion of while loop is being done. Now it's time to show you the execution on my system, and there I will also show you the infinite loop, how infinite loop gets means created, or how you would be able to stop it once infinite loop gets created. And I hope you have understood this video, but still if you have doubt, you are free to ask me. Comment section is for you only. Okay, so let's move to our system. So guys, let's start our practical class. Okay, so let me write the code for the one which I was discussing during the theory time. So the code will simply print numbers from 1 to 10. So let me first initialize the value with 1. Then after that we have while num less than equals to 10 colon, then printing the value of num, and let me increment it by 1. Fine. Execution. See, the numbers have been printed from 1 to 10. Simple. Now let me do some manipulation within the code. The first manipulation is let me comment this initialization part. So what would happen? Let's see. See, it's giving me an error. Name num is not being defined. Why this error is coming? It's because here I have used the variable num, but this variable num has no existence in this particular code. And we know that a variable in Python is created once a value is being assigned to it. Since no assignment of value has been done to this variable num, so it's giving an error, and that error is what? Name error, that num is not defined. So I hope with this error you have understood the importance of the initialization. Okay, so that's why. So initialization of what? Initialization of the variables which will be used in the condition of the while loop. Those initializations are important. Okay, so initialization of the variable num equals to 1 has been done. So we have already seen that if this, we have run this code and we have seen its output, it will give us the numbers from 1 to 10. Now let me just do some manipulation. Let me remove this part, or not remove, let me comment this part. Okay, comment. Now what would happen? See, let me tell you. First, the value of num has been initialized with 1, then the condition part is there. So 1 is always less than 10, it's true, then it will move into the body. And after that, it will print the value of num, and in this case, it will be 1. But since there is no updation, so what would happen? The value of num will be 1, and again that num value as 1 will be checked against 10, and it will again evaluate to true, and same thing will run until and unless our stack memory gets full. And what is stack memory? Let's keep this particular topics discussion in a later video. Okay, but as of now, what would happen if I just comment this particular updation part statement, this particular loop will get converted to infinite loop. Why? Because the condition will always evaluate to true. They means this with this particular code, the condition will never get false, and this loop will go keep on running, keep on printing the value of the num. And what value? 1. Why? Because num values is not getting incrementing or decrementing, means no updation of no updation statement has been done for the variable num. So let me execute it and see, it is printing num infinite times. Now how to stop an infinite loop? Just press Ctrl C. So if you press Ctrl C, you will get a keyboard interrupt error, and with that, with the help of Ctrl C, you would be able to stop an infinite loop. Simple. Now I hope with this comment of the updation part, you have understood the importance of updation part statement. So that's why updation plays a very vital role in case of while loop. Fine, done. Now second manipulation. Let me write this statement before the print statement. Then what would happen? See the output. 2 and 11. But what was my condition? My condition was to print values from 1 to 10. But see, 11 is also being printed. And I think you have understood with the explanation which was done in the theory part why this 11 is coming. Simple. If you just execute the steps, each and every step, you would be able to understand that after 10, the value is being incremented by 1, which gets converted to 11, and that's why the value of 11 is being printed. And since 11 is not less than 10, so the loop gets evaluated to false and the loop gets stopped. Simple. But still, if you have doubt, my request would be like just execute each and every step on your notebook and try to visualize it, and definitely you would be able to understand it. Simple. It's very simple. Now how to overcome this? If I initialize my value of num with 0, then in that case, see, the output is okay, fine, let me execute it again. See, the output is 1 to 11, and why 11 is coming, it's just because it is equals to. So if I remove this equals to, then sorry, let me execute it again. Yeah, see, the output is coming from 1 to 10. Simple. With the changing in the initialization value, I also need to change the condition part. See, that's the thing. Same code written in 2 ways. And that's the essence of computer science. A code can be written in many ways. The only thing which is required in computer science is to create a good logic. And logic creation can be done only when you start visualizing the code, when you start understanding the code, when you have a strong base of concepts, each and every concept. Simple. So important point is to understand the concept. So that's all for today. The class is done. Okay, but before ending this video, it's my request, please have a look to this video, okay, till the end. Try to execute the code on your own system, try to see the output, try to visualize it, and try to practice different types of questions. And definitely I would also practice different types of questions with you, loop type of questions that would engage while loop, for loop, depends upon the questions. But it's my request also that you should also practice this code on your system too. See, it's a practical based chapter, so you need to do codes on your system. You won't be able to write, you won't be able to memorize each and every code. It's not at all possible. Okay, so you need to practice the codes on your system. You need to write your codes on your notebooks, understand the logic, create your own logic, and done. Simple. It's a very simple subject, believe me. The only thing is to understand the concepts and nothing else. Okay, so that's all for today. Let's meet you in the upcoming video with different types of questions on loop.
Okay, thank you very much.